Okay, we're live, Chair.
Perfect. Thank you, Mark, and welcome members, officers, friends, colleagues. Welcome to this strategy scrutiny meeting. The first one of the municipal year. That's incredible. It feels like it was ages ago since we last met. But yeah, welcome to the new members of the board as well, and welcome to members who are more experienced in strategy scrutiny. Let's put it that way. Do we have any subs, Mark, or any apologies for absence?
Yes, we do, Chair. We have apologies from Councillor Kearney and Councillor Barnes, and tonight we have sub-in Councillor Thompson and Councillor Tremaine.
Perfect, and welcome indeed. Item number 2, members interested. Does any member have an interest on anything to do with what we'll be discussing tonight? No. Well, if you do, you can declare it under the item anyway, so no problem about that. Yes, the item number 3, the public are allowed. We're live on YouTube. We're broadcasting to the world right now, so please do watch your language. Not like that's ever been an issue on strategy scrutiny. Okay, item number 4, minutes of the last meeting dated the 15th of March 2023. Do any comments at all on the minutes? Nope. In that case, can I please propose them as a true and accurate board? Could I have a seconder? Have we got a problem here? No. Rob, were you at the meeting last?
No, I don't think. I had problems logging on for some reason.
Yeah.
I was at that meeting as a substitute, George. So,
sorry to interrupt, Chair. The seconder doesn't have to have been present at the meeting.
Well,
Sort of goes against being a true and accurate record, doesn't it? I mean, in that case, Councillor Kingston, please would you second, if possible? That would perfect. Thank you very much. In that case, all in favour, please. Right, brilliant, and that's passed there. Good. Okay, item number 5, financial services overview and priorities. Please, could I invite Isabel? I believe you're presenting to us an oral presentation tonight. So I propose to pass to you.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. I'm just a bit concerned. My neighbours decided to cut their hedge. Can you actually hear that at the moment? You might want to put somebody else on before me to do their report. No,
I can't.
Fine? Yeah, just let me know if it gets too noisy.
No, yeah.
So hopefully you can see my screen. Our host is disabled. Mark, would you let me share my screen, please?
Yeah, bear me one moment, Councillor. Isabel, apologies. Sorry.
Apologies. Thank you.
While we're waiting, I should have mentioned, I omitted to mention at the start, it's going to be a really, really tight meeting. It's action-packed, as you probably see from the agenda. Usually, in the forthcoming year, we do like 2-item agendas because we feel like we can make more distance on the agenda item. So just to let members know that it is a unique situation that we've got so many items on the agenda, but sometimes being the first year back, we've got to do it, unfortunately. So if members could keep their questions as concise as possible, that would be appreciated. But over to you, Isabel.
Thank you. So this is just an overview of where we are with finance at the moment and sort of looking forward. A couple of the key questions that you asked me to look at. So overview of the financial position, current position, the new Director of Resources and Transformation, their priorities or what they think they will be looking at in the first instance. Something around financial resilience, how are we measuring financial resilience, what are we looking at and what should we be thinking about going forward, items that the committee might want to pick up. something around priority driven spending. Obviously, we're moving into a new sort of focus, making sure that we are spending money on the things that we need to spend money on, the things that are our focus, and what we're trying to prioritise what that spend is as we move forward into the future. And then just a quick update on the business plan implementation. Michael's not here tonight, but I think in future meetings there'll probably be an opportunity for some more business plan working and some updates from Jez as well. So moving on swiftly, I just wanted to share with you our draft outturn position for 22-23. This information hasn't gone outside of the council and is obviously still confidential. This will be presented as a slide deck in the July cabinet, but as I said, it's confidential at this moment in time, so it's just a snapshot of where we are and where we're hoping to be for the year end. So the actual outturn that we are predicting is a zero outturn. That's a movement from the last monitor of about £5 million. We have fortuitously managed to save some money in our central contingency costs, where we haven't had to allocate money out to, for example, energy hasn't increased quite as much as we thought it might do. Some of the costs haven't gone up quite as much as they should have done, or we thought they would have done. The new MRP policy, which has made which is funding for future borrowing, has reduced the cost to the council on an annual basis. So that has also come into play. And then finally, we've looked at collection figures for business rates, and we've revised our government return, which has given us a fortuitous income as well. So at the moment, all of this is in draft format, but actually, on the whole, we are £5 million better, in a better position than we were at the third quarter. That's not to say it's a good position, because we still had to use £5.3 million worth of reserves in order to manage that budget that we had. Obviously, all of the pressures that we've all been heard about and all known about over the last year. So, and that's a good position to be in. Moving forwards, just a quick reminder of what we're looking at for 23-24. This was the budget that we took to full council in February, and we're still happy that we're in a good position with that budget, but we still need to think about more headroom. We still need to think about more opportunities for the future. And these are just a few of the items that we've considered, things that we need to think about, things that we need to invest in, things that need the capacity for the future, cost of living pressures, investment possibilities, and also opportunities within the local plan and how we can move forward with that. So I think just a little update on where we are with the salary and corporate cost rebasing. The team are working at the moment through detailed budget analysis. They're realigning budgets to actual spend, to actual establishment costs, looking at where there's been a history of maybe things being overspent, underspent, making sure that income targets are at the correct level. Lots of work going on behind the scenes to make sure that we're making the best use of our budgets and that we're correctly forecasting and accurately putting our budgets in for future years. A couple of the things that we discussed for the new year, we've actually, as I said before, we've actually started work on, and we've actually delivered the MRP review, which is the minimum revenue provision, which is the amount of principal that we put away for borrowing. We've done a revised policy for that and reduced our costs considerably on that. Local government funding review, we have made sure that we are maximising our income that comes in from central government through the recovery of business rates. And we're currently working on some strategic treasury management initiatives where we could maximise the income. So basically looking at still low risk borrowing, but maximising those income levels that are coming in from external organisations. The two things that are outstanding at the moment are the benchmarking of fees and charges. So that's obviously a massive project, and I think that will probably feed into next year. And we've just started work on a capital strategy, looking at really what the council's aims and priorities are for the next 10 years and making sure that the investments are available and that we have a really good balance of how we're going to take our capital programme forward. So that's sort of the financial outcomes as they are at the moment. For me, as you all know, I'm the interim CFO and I'll be here till September. We have recruited a new Director of Resources and Transformation. So I thought I'd just put in here what I expect to achieve by September. I really want to bring forward a 3-year revenue budget proposal so that when the new director comes in, they have minimal work to do on actually the budget setting. I want to build that capacity, build that headroom, and make sure that they have a good, robust medium-term financial plan that they can use and move forward with. So I also need to deliver a 10-year capital strategy. So I've started work on that at the moment with the team, looking at the programme and making sure that we have robust priorities moving forward and a robust direction of travel for capital. And the same for Treasury, making sure that our borrowing and our lending are both balanced and considerate of the rates that are currently around and what the council actually wants to do. I think the real challenges for the new director are going to be looking at collaboration across the organisation, improving that finance collaboration with the services, making sure they're integrated with the services, considering what resources are available, and focus on instilling some value within the team. I think the team has had a bit of a tough ride over the last few years, obviously with a number of CFOs, myself included. So some stability for the team will be really helpful to get them on the right track, to give them the confidence to sort of move forward and deliver the financial package that they need to. And obviously the new director will be implementing a sort of new transformation programme, and that will be a key driver for moving forward and making sure we create that headroom for the future. I think for us at Calderdale, we're in a strong financial position. And how would I measure that strong financial position? I just put some key items here on the slide just to kind of think. If I was thinking about resilience within the council and financial resilience, statement of accounts update. Statement of accounts is going well. We didn't deliver the statement of accounts as at the 31st of May, but then we are within 80% of councils across the country who have suddenly been given this very, very much shortened timetable with not a lot of audit resources. We're still waiting for the auditors to come in and audit the final parts of the 21-22 accounts. They are saying they won't come in until August. They've given me a provisional date to audit the 22-23 accounts. So that's the accounts that ended on the 31st of March 2023. And they have said they will come in and start auditing them in January 2024. So the state of auditors at the moment, the availability of auditors and the resources that auditors is not good. That's not reflection on us. It's a reflection on the market outside. And I think there's a lot of measures that are being implemented in order to help manage that going forward. And just as a point of note, auditors will change. For this year that we're in, we have actually got new auditors. We won't actually have EY, we will have Mazars. So I'm hoping that there'll be some improvement in the timeliness and consistency of the auditing that we'll have. Back to the financial resilience generally, the peer review gave us robust feedback. It was all very positive about our ability to manage our assets, to make the most of our assets. The budget outturn update proves that consistent approach that we've got to the end of the year, we've managed our funds and we're in a very positive position. The budget setting is once again a positive position. We've got lots of opportunities to move forward. There's lots of ideas about how we can reduce costs in areas and provide that headroom for those investment opportunities. The reserves levels have always been considered to be quite low, but in actual fact, they are healthy. And a recent report that we got from SITFA shows that our reserve levels are of a good level and are improving. So I think that's a positive for us as well. And our borrowing levels are very consistent and they're very low. And we will not in the sort of predicament that a number of councils are in at the moment where their borrowing is and far outweighs the gearing of their revenue budgets. So overall, as a positive picture for you to consider for our financial position. With regard to sort of the priority-driven spending method and sort of the priority budgeting, really, I would think that the way that we're moving that forward is we're doing this rebasing exercise first. What we need to understand is that the priority-driven spending is something that's going to evolve over a number of years. We're not just going to be able to jump in and change all of our budgets and suddenly make massive swings in what we're delivering and what we're not delivering. We first of all need to do that rebasing, understand the costings for each service, then align the budgets to the priorities, and then highlight where we think there's issues or where their priorities not being delivered, where there's money being spent maybe that is not what we expect it to be spent on. And then after that, obviously, discussion and decision. But the groundwork needs to be done before we can actually make those changes, make those make those assumptions and have those discussions amongst ourselves. And as I said, that is well on track at the moment. Business plan update. So for the business plans, which are sort of very similar to the service plans that we used to have, all services are now provided a business plan. So we now have a whole suite of business plans across the council, which I think might be something that we might want to look at in some depth going forward. But those will give you the direction of travel for each service, the key deliverables, and the opportunities and risks that those services had. And obviously, as this group, we have discussed the visioning days and the types of help that they can implement, what could be implemented with the business plans with the visioning day process. So the update from Kaylee was that her and Michael have now delivered about 45 visioning days since they kicked off. They have had internal network meetings to discuss the business planning, and they've had really positive feedback. So the business planning it has been helping people to see where they can improve services, where they can improve income levels, or maybe improve processes. So those are just a few of the quotes from the people that have done those visioning days. And I think that is me done, whistle stop tour of finance. I hope that's okay, Councillor Robinson.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Isabel. Mark, you can go back to full screen. That will be appreciated. In the meantime, members, if you would like to ask questions, please use the raise your hand function that's accessible through the participants icon. Just click that, you can see raise hand. Councillor Tremaine.
Sorry, this isn't a proper question. It just could someone let Councillor Thompson back in? He's trying to get back in.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Good. Any other questions? I'll kick off. Yeah, thank you, Isabel. Do we know when the rebasing exercise is going to be completed?
With regard to completion, I think it's going to go through some phases. So I've got meetings set up with all of my finance managers at the end of June for them to feed back to me individual item in their individual areas and where they've found either savings or changes to the budget. Now, I can't say to you how many iterations that's going to go through, because I don't know how much what they're going to find, where they're going to find it, and how much more effort will need to be sort of put into doing that rebasing exercise. I would expect that we'll get the lion's share of the work done by June, ready for the monitor, but I would suspect we'll need more work to be carried out throughout the summer.
Perfect. Thank you very much. No worries, Councillor Thompson, about the internet problems. It's probably because, according to your little icon there, you're on top of a hill. So that might be why you're struggling with the internet. I don't know. Okay, anyone else? Any more questions finance related to Isabel? No, nothing. Isabel, we'd appreciate as well. I mean, it's a difficult one because I appreciate your leaving us quite imminently, aren't you? Is there a handover period with the new?
Yes, yeah, there'll definitely be a handover period. Yeah, and the new director will be talking to me even before that. I think we've already had some conversations. We're having a finance away day. She's attending that, so she's really ready to get into all of this.
Yeah, I don't want to prejudice you, so please do not tell me if you don't want to do. What's the handover period?
There's a formal handover period of a week, but we will be talking on and off between now and then anyway. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Yeah, it's always a difficult time into the handover period because you always, I think, to be honest, when you came into the post, I think you've done some really great things, especially with relation to the visioning and business plans. So we'll be sorry to hear that sorry to see you leave the council. I've really enjoyed working with you over the past few months, but I wish you the very best in your passage anew. Yeah, and we'll probably look to we'll probably look to get the business plans back as we've discussed previously. But I appreciate that's probably going to be something for the new CFO.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Thank you. Good. Any other questions, or shall we move on? Okay, good. Right. Thank you, Isabel. Greatly appreciated. In that case, item number 6, Calderdale Council's workforce strategy. So for this item, we have Jill. Welcome, Jill. Welcome to Strategy Performance Scrutiny. Thank you very much. Is there anything you would like to say with regards to your report?
Yeah, I'm aware, obviously, the report has been circulated to members, and I think there's probably 5 key points that I'd like to just draw a bit of attention to within the report. I think, first of all, I don't have a presentation to share, but I just thought I'd talk you through those key points, if that's okay. So the first point is really about the context, I think, and there continues to be significant change within the labour market due to, ongoing effects of the pandemic and also the recovery and reset over the last 2 to 3 years. The market's seeing a record number of vacancies, and the supply of candidates seems to be reducing for a number of reasons, which contributes to obviously an increasingly competitive market. The low unemployment rate means fewer people are available and looking for work. There are fewer people in the labour market than pre-pandemic, and much of this is due to the early exit from the labour market by older workers. And employers are trying their hardest not to lose staff, and they're seeking a lot of creative and alternative ways to drive forward their recruitment and retention. Increasing salaries, creating more flexibility for roles, and creating opportunities to upskill existing staff. And all of that context presents some key challenges for the organisation. I think we need to be very mindful of that. The second key point is around the workforce strategy and delivery plan that has been developed to drive forward the council's vision and corporate priorities, as well as to reflect the labour market and react to market forces, payments and salaries. There is some work still ongoing on the delivery plan, so there's still draft documents. It's planned to be discussed further with a corporate leadership team within the next couple of weeks, and then the aim is for it to go to Governance and Business Committee at the beginning of September. There's a correction in my report actually in point 2.4 where it refers to Cabinet, refers to the documents going to Cabinet in June, and that should be Governance and Business Committee and September date for that. The third the third key point that I wanted to mention is about retaining our talent within the borough, which is a key priority for us around growing our own and providing career pathways. So just to pick up on apprenticeships, we're looking at having 3 cohorts of apprenticeships per year. And the next one is in July this year. There are 5 current apprenticeships available, and a potential further 3 that may also become available across different areas within the council. The vacancies will be live towards the end of June with a closing date of the 20th of July. Shortlisting will commence soon after that, with interviews week commencing 31st of July and the 7th of August. And there'll be some communications regarding this shared on social media platforms. That's a really sort of exciting sort of time to get some more apprentices within the organisation, and the intention is to sort of drive that further as we go throughout the year. Also looking at care leaver opportunities, work experience, apprenticeships, specific roles that can be made available for care leavers, looking at improving the outcomes for care leavers through the provision of those employment opportunities and work experience. Within Appendix 4, there's some reference to the T levels, and obviously there's ongoing work around those T levels. The pilot commenced, the pilot placement started in January this year, and other students will be starting the T level courses in September and will require a placement from January 2024. The organisational development team already have some managers interested and will be going out to other services to gather interest and prepare placements. And the aim is to have 8 or more placements across different sectors in January 2024. Other opportunities exist around the National Graduate Development Programme, which is very exciting. Interviews have now taken place for the programme and 5 offers have been made. We're waiting for the National Graduate Development Programme to let the candidates know and see if they accept our offer. A 4th point is around the key priorities really, which are sort of 3 areas: talent, learning and development, of which we've discussed some of that; pay, reward and recognition, with a pay and grading review and benchmarking, looking at our job evaluation, and also the benefits review and benchmarking to ensure we remain competitive within the market. And then the 3rd key priority is around equality, equity and inclusion, tying in with the corporate priority, strengthening the staff networks, and producing information on this going into the gender and ethnicity pay gap reporting. And then finally, I just wanted to pick up on sort of specific recruitment and retention challenges. It's a tough market and there are probably a couple of key areas that I just want to sort of mention. One is obviously around social workers, which many organisations are struggling to recruit and retain. And there have been a number of recruitment exercises to support with filling those vacancies, both across adults and across children's as well. And also within planning, we've had some struggles with recruitment and multiple efforts to fill vacancies. But there have been roles that have been recruited to since December, and there are ongoing adverts for those roles, for some of those roles within planning as well. And those are the key points that I just wanted to sort of make special reference to. Are there any
Brilliant.
questions?
Thank you, Jill. Just a clarification point, if I may, regarding Appendix 2B, 2B of the report. There's a Gantt chart on there. The cells coloured in green, are they when the work will be undertaken, or are those target completion dates?
So that document's still in draft, but that was the intention for when the work would actually take place.
Yeah.
Obviously, with it being in draft, there may well still be some movement on that. It's not an agreed document as yet.
And then obviously it's a broad brush question because there's so many different things within this Gantt chart. But will you be adding, completion dates within there, or it's a difficult one?
I would expect completion dates to be added into there. I think some of the work within it will probably be ongoing, but there will be specific pieces of work that will have expected completion dates.
Yeah, perfect. No, that's appreciated. Good, thank you. Members, any questions? Yeah, Councillor Thornburg.
Hi, Jill. As well as the recruitment, I think one of the major issues has been retention of staff as well. I've just 2 points. I noticed there's a revamp of the salary sacrifice scheme. It sounds daft, but if they take part of the scheme, they're more tended to have to stay with the council because they're part of a scheme. I know that's been revamped because that is something what were brought in about 5, 6, might even be 10 years ago. But one of the other points I'm making of promotion of staff, because some staff feel when it comes to certain job vacancies, what's higher up their scale, they haven't been sort of looked taken into account, even if they've been acting that role, if you can understand where I'm coming from. And therefore they feel, well, they might as well look elsewhere, look at other councils for higher sort of, not just pay scale, but higher job title, if you understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah, okay, so I think that's a really important point around the sort of staff having opportunities to progress within the organisation, and the work sort of that will be undertaken with the organisation development team and the HR team is around really ensuring that the one-to-ones and the shared conversations include discussions around sort of development needs and opportunities for progression, because you're right, it's important that we invest in staff, and sometimes people can think that's the only option to sort of move elsewhere, but actually we've got opportunities within the council. We need to sort of develop people into those new roles and look at sort of opportunities for them.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So next we have Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was just going to ask about specifically around, because it comes up early in the document, around the kind of 2 key demographics in terms of struggling with retention being kind of 18 to 24 and then the 65 plus. I just wanted to ask a bit about the National Graduate Development Programme, because I think that can be difficult. Obviously, we're in an area that doesn't have a university, and it's, population-wise, you're struggling to retain around, perhaps that demographic of just post-university, because a lot of people will go to uni, stay in that city or stay in that area. So I just wondered about kind of can we do more with the National Graduate Development Programme? Like, could we actually increase the number of graduates, and then once they're, because it mentions around the induction and support for the graduates being over a 2-year period. Is this the first time we've done it, or have we done it in the past and then we're having success in terms of keeping them on for 2 years and beyond that? So I just think that's just with where we are, I think that is potentially a demographic we'll struggle with in keeping them on, because as we know, the grass can always seem greener to people, but we want people in Calderdale and loving Calderdale like we do and staying there and staying and working here. So it'd be good to have a bit more about that programme and how it's working, and can we use it to potentially recruit more graduates as well going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really valid point, and There may well be opportunities to develop this further in future. It's very positive that we have had, we've been in a position to be able to offer 5 of these graduate placements, but as you say, it's whether we can look at expanding that. We had some really positive feedback when colleagues attended the National Graduate Development Programme event in Birmingham, a really positive feedback about the organisation, the information that had been taken, the positive reactions on social media, etc. So I think that was good, but there's definitely more that we can do, and I think that's probably something maybe I want to take away and just provide perhaps a written response to you around perhaps how we could expand it in the future.
Yeah, perfect. Thumbs up from Councillor Thompson. Councillor Tremaine.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. Just thinking about the improved outcomes for care leavers, which we've obviously talked about quite a lot at CYP, and just I guess it's that bit before people apply that's the key, isn't it, in terms of people feeling able to apply. And so I'm just wondered if you could say any more about how is that going to work in terms of sort of offering work experience or mentoring and stuff like that, that we could really kind of engage those young people at an earlier stage so that they feel able to then apply for opportunities.
Yeah, it's obviously a really important priority for us, and it starts before they're ready to leave care, doesn't it? It sort of starts before that, and there's obviously ongoing work with their the support that's already in place in terms of work experience. Obviously opportunities need to be set up. There's something around support with applications, support with preparation for interviews and things like that. And I think there's some work that's already in place with different departs within the council. And again, I can probably provide some more information to you on that if that would be helpful.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just making sure everyone's joined up on it, isn't it? That's great.
Yeah, so it's tying in all those key elements, because there is quite a lot of work that's ongoing, and it's just having that in a framework that we can all see.
Thanks.
Very good. Councillor Kingston.
Thank you. I was scouring the papers to see, do we do exit interviews? So when somebody's actually leaving employment with Calderdale Council, I apologise for the darkness that keeps falling. Do we interview them and collect data to work out, to help us decide if there's anything that we can do to retain staff in future?
We do exit interviews. We've got either an opportunity to complete the information online, so there's questions that they can answer. Also, there's an opportunity for a face-to-face discussion to gather that information, because that's clearly important to sort of identify reasons for leaving and look at potential ways to enable people to stay within the organisation. So we do gather that information, yes.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Dacre.
Thank you, Chair. Well, first of all, I just wanted to remind members that Jill has only been acting up as head of HR and OD for what seems like no time at all. And so I just want to thank her and her colleagues for how well they've stepped up to provide cover at the moment. And I think obviously she's coming here today, and I think she's been shown that she's got a very good grasp of what's going on. So just one or two things I wanted to say. One was that I was hearing this morning about the people talking about the wage price inflation spiral and talking about wage inflation. I think it was at 7% or something. And of course, that really highlights one of our problems in that local authority pay inflation just is not at 7%. And because some private sector can pay that sort of rise, that's one of the reasons it's challenging for us in recruitment and retention. I think just touching on what Councillor Thornborough spoke about, yeah, I think along with Jill, I'd say the workforce strategy really is trying to put a framework in place to avoid the situation where somebody in the council wants to apply for another job, but maybe hasn't got the relevant experience. And I would just urge any employee who finds themselves in that situation where they feel that they are well qualified, but they're not getting the jobs, that they really do need to take this up through appropriate channels to find out why that might be and get the feedback. And then the whole point of the strategy will be that we can then work together, the employee and the council, to try and ensure that in the future they will be able to take up more roles. Councillor Thompson, just in relation to the graduates, I think it was done once before, and then I think it was probably, I think, in the middle of the austerity years, and there just wasn't really the capacity to do it again. It's really positive that we've started the graduate scheme again. And all I'd say is that, as Jill says, we can look at how we obviously don't want this to be a one-off again. We want to carry on doing it, but we just have to be really careful that we have the resources and the capacity to ensure that those graduates get the best experience. There's no point in us just taking people on and then not being able to support them. So it's a fine balance. And Councillor Kingston, yes, as you've heard, there are exit interviews. And what I'd also say is that I say we, but officers within the council always do generally try to do their best to ensure that people leave on good terms. So, for instance, if somebody is going because they want a promotion and they haven't been able to obtain it within the council, we want to leave on good terms, so that if they're looking for a further progression later on in their career, they want to come back. Or if they do see that the grass appears greener in private industry, that they leave on good terms, and if they actually find it's not to their taste, the door is open to them to come back again. And there are instances of that happening, and that's really, really important. And I think the fact that people do come back really fits in with all of the things that the workforce strategy references about what people say about working in Calderdale, and that many of those who do leave with slightly heavy hearts, even if they go into something else that they're looking forward to doing. So thank you. Just wanted to add those comments.
Yeah, very good. So obviously retention's an issue, and obviously recruitment's an issue. So looking at retention, you know, is there a, I don't want to sound cliche about it, but is there a smart objective? You know, by say January 2025, we want to increase retention by 30%. Is that? Oh yeah, I'm just that's just an example. But is that a thing?
There isn't at the moment, and I think probably there's been a lot of movement within sort of different organisations recently. So I'm not sure at this stage whether it would be appropriate to set that figure, if that makes sense. Because we've probably gone through a very unusual period that's quite strange. So whereas we might have seen a lot of movement, you know, in 2020, 21 under normal circumstances, because of the pandemic, people tended to more likely stay put. So suddenly then more people are moving around different organisations. So.
Yeah, I just say that from the perspective of, you know, we need, as a council, I mean, you're doing all this marvellous work, you know, and it's proposed that we do engagement surveys and we really take stock of where we currently are and what our employees value from us, you know. In some ways, if we're doing this good work, you know, we need to measure success, and it's quite difficult to measure success without, you know, a measurable objective. So that's just why I raised that one. So maybe that's something that you could consider in the background, you know, how we how ultimately we do measure the outputs essentially. But I don't want that to move away from the good plan that you've put forward. I think it's an incredibly great thing that you've done, thorough, detailed, and I look forward to really seeing how it progresses and moves forward. Councillor Dacre?
Thank you, Chair. I mean, obviously the workforce strategy has some points upon which it says we're going to evidence various things by. I just think that the trying to put a target on retention could be problematic, because obviously quite a lot of people who've left recently from the council were getting to the end of their working lives, or at least they're perhaps they might be taking up some other form of employment. A lot of them, you know, are getting to pension age, for instance, or they're getting near to it, and so you can't really, any target would have to factor in your age balance. So I think it might be more of a qualitative evidence base that you'd need. So you would look at who had left, and then you analyse the reasons, and that would be the important thing, is are they all leaving because they've got to 65 and they just want to go? Are they leaving because the grass is greener? I think that's a more useful measure than a numerical quota.
Yeah, I mean, I think retention is just one metric. The reason why I say this is, for example, diversity and inclusion. Diversity and inclusion is included quite substantially within the program. But the reason why I say this is because many organisations, they say they're going to improve diversity and inclusion, but then they don't say what they're going to improve it by. And it's an important point, because 1%, if you improve diversity and inclusion by 1%, you know, that's classed as an improvement. Is that good enough? Is the next question. So that's the only aspect I'm coming from. Without measurable objectives, it's difficult to ascertain whether something's been successful or not. So I mean, but that's one for you, you know, you to take away and see if you can build it in, you know, or you know, if you disagree, that's quite okay. But I just thought I'd raise it really. But like I say, I don't want that to go against the fantastic work that you put together. I think it is really good, and it's a clear vision that you've got in there, that you want Calderdale to be the best employer, and I think that's a great thing.
Thank you.
Perfect. Are there any other questions? No. Well, in that case, thank you very much. Thank you, Jill, for presenting to us. You're welcome to stay, but somehow I suspect you've probably got better things to do on a Wednesday evening, so you don't feel obliged to stay.
Thank you, Chair.
Perfect. Okay, good stuff. Next item number 7, service priorities from Ian, I believe. So, Ian, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. What could be better than sitting listening to the service priorities of legal and democratic services? Chair, I've submitted yes. Chair, I've submitted a written report which sets out the priorities that are in place for all of the services within legal and democratic services. That's elections, information governance, scrutiny, and obviously legal itself. Just to go through those in brief summary, because I hope that members have had an opportunity to read the report. Information governance, obviously, it's dealing primarily with service access requests, Freedom of Information Act requests, both of which we still receive a significant number throughout the year. Probably about 1,500 or so. So there's a great deal of work that takes place to deal with that, but also working with IT colleagues to ensure that the storage of data, both hard copy and digital, is kept in the way that it should be, and that we comply very clearly with our requirements under GDPR to make sure that the vital resource we have of information is properly handled and dealt with. So that continues to be work that is undertaken through that service. Scrutiny, I think I don't need to say to members about the important work that is done within the scrutiny boards that we have. Quite rightly, this council has gained a very good reputation for the detailed reviews that are undertaken and the in-depth analysis that's carried out into areas that are not perhaps able to be covered elsewhere within the council, but really positively contribute to the development of policy that is looked upon favourably, I know, by the administration. Elections, we've just been through a election cycle back in May. And again, I regard that as being something that was well handled, even dealing with the voter ID this time round, which I think passed off as well as we could expect. Inevitably, there were issues that were raised in some wards, but primarily and mostly they were dealt with very well. And then the significant detail around the contribution that legal services makes to the work of the council, working across all services, all directorates, to ensure that the work that's underway, contracts, safeguarding work, which is fundamentally important both in children's and adults, and the redevelopment work that's underway from the property and commercial teams, to make sure that those can happen in a way that provides advantage to the council. And then the litigation that takes place. Obviously, that's an unknown quantity as far as the cases that are presented to us, apart from the usual work that's undertaken as far as education, welfare, etc. But then we have other matters that are presented to us on a regular basis, which we deal with and press on with. So, Chair, that's a bit of a whistle-stop summary of what's in the report. Obviously, happy to take questions from members on any of those or the priorities that they would regard as required for the service going forward.
Of course, yeah. Thank you very much, Ian. That was greatly appreciated. Members, any questions for Ian? Yep, Rob.
Ian, it ain't really a question; it's a comment, and just to praise the elections office. The amount of support they give just not just councillors but candidates at election times is really good. So I think you've got a dedicated team there. So just to praise them, thank you.
Thank you, councillors, much appreciated. And yes, it's a very well-established team, very stable team, very dedicated to what it does, and very, very focused on making sure that the very important role of voting is made as straightforward, both for candidates, but for the electorate as well. It's a duty that we have to encourage voting, and they take that very seriously and work very hard to ensure that the systems are in place and backup plans where necessary. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good. Any other members? Any questions? How's legal recruitment going, Ian?
Better than it has been. We've been successful in recruiting 3 permanent members of staff in the last few months. One who started on Monday, and we have another one starting at the 26th of June, I think, and one then shortly after. It's unfortunately on the negative side, we have officers leaving, one through retirement and one who's moving on. So it's a constant issue for us. We had, as myself and my 2 principal solicitors had a meeting yesterday just to discuss how we address it and continue to address it. And going back to what Jill said about apprenticeships, there is a new solicitor apprenticeship that's available to us through BP Law, and we have submitted an application to have a solicitor apprentice engage with us for July of this year. So that's a route where we effectively grow our own. We are also taking on at least one, if not two, trainee solicitors. So that would mean also that in an ideal world, when they become fully qualified, we would hope, and it's almost inevitable, that we would have a vacancy within legal services for them to slot into, subject to it being in an area they wanted to work. So it remains hard. We have difficulty in recruiting, particularly in the childcare team, and that continues to be the case. I am working very closely with one recruitment agency that has been very successful in finding us permanent candidates. There is a finder's fee to that, but it's a fee that is worth paying because of the reduction it means in the local budget that we then reduce because of taking on a permanent member of staff. So it's an ongoing issue for us, but we are hopefully progressing in the right direction.
Thank you. That's very, very helpful indeed. Is there any? I mean, it's a tough market, but it's a tough market, I think, across all employment areas. What is there any opportunity in some ways to pool resource with other local authorities? Any scope there?
We already have that through members will have heard about YLaw. That's the West Yorkshire lawyers, which encompasses the 5 West Yorkshire authorities plus York. We do have a memorandum of understanding that requires us to cooperate with other authorities where they have a short-term vacancy. The problem that arises, and we regularly get requests, and I make regular requests, no one has spare capacity at the moment. So it's very, very unusual for us to be able to offer help or support to a neighbouring authority. It has happened, but probably hasn't happened for us within the last 3 or 4 years. We did have some assistance and provided some assistance on conveyancing going back about 4 years ago, but it's increasingly hard to have any spare capacity to be offered across the West Yorkshire authorities, I'm afraid.
That's interesting. Within that memorandum of understanding, do we need to keep salaries very similar to other local authorities, or
that is an issue because we have contemplated in the past recruiting, for example, if we had 2 specialist lawyers recruited to cover the whole of the West Yorkshire authorities, on what salary level would they be recruited? I think the vote at the time was for everyone to be increased to the salary positions at Leeds, but that would probably bankrupt Calderdale, so we couldn't do that. But it presents that sort of problem for us, that the rationale behind having someone who is therefore engaged on that basis would be very difficult, and it was something that proved impossible to implement in reality, I'm afraid.
No, that's really interesting. I think it's good for information purposes as well, because I think that quite well describes the issues that affects us. Sorry to end on a somber note, Ian. In an otherwise positive report about your priorities for the forthcoming year, sorry to end on that somber note about the difficulties of the recruitment market, but it's no doubt been a helpful exercise. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Good. In that case, there's no further questions from members. We'll move on. Yeah. Thank you very much, Ian. Good. So next item on the agenda, moving swiftly on. We're making good progress through this agenda. Brilliant. Item number 8. This might be a record, by the way. We're on item number 8 after an hour. Incredible. ICT and digital. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I believe Carl
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm here, Chair.
Welcome, Carl. Now, I'm not going to be rude, but I'm going to pull down my blind because it's blinding me. So you can just see I've got something over my face. But if you want to just, introduce the item, Carl, I'm still listening, but I'm just going to go wind down my blind if that's okay.
No problem, Chair.
Yeah, crack on.
Thank you for having a blind that is blinding you. That's quite entertaining, really. And thank you for inviting me to this board, because I don't believe that ICT and digital has been to the board recently. So it's great to be here. You've had the report as per how Ian has just presented, and I just wanted to draw attention to a few small areas within that report, just to suggest that there's some areas that we may want to consider further. The first one is that we are already being asked to present the refreshed digital strategy that will take place later on in this year. We've still got a lot of work to do around developing that strategy, but also making sure that we've co-authored and collaborated with a wide range of partners and citizens to make sure that that hits the spot as far as the strategy is concerned. I think section 3.3 around the work we've been doing on cybersecurity, we've been doing really well in that space, and I think that's worthy of some further attention later on in the year, as is the work that we've been doing in digital inclusion. And digital inclusion refers to both the external digital inclusion, making sure that people are included, but also making sure that some of our staff have got the skills and experiences that they need in order to make the best use of ICT and digital. The final one that I draw your attention to is the digital business continuity, which we do see as part of the whole cybersecurity space. So not only trying to protect ourselves in the first instance, but also how we react if there was an incident, and making sure that we are robust in that space. We now have all the business impact assessments in, and the ICT and digital team are now reviewing those to make sure that people have completed those in a comprehensive manner in case we do suffer some form of disaster as far as the ICT is concerned. So I don't think there's anything more in there that I want to draw attention to, but I would welcome any questions that anybody has. Thank you very much, Chair.
Yeah, thank you very much, Carl. Greatly appreciated. Yeah, there's been a lot actually going on in this domain. Now I come to think about it, especially with regards to the training exercises that we've got to do. Thanks, Carl, for that one. But yeah, come to think about it, I think this is the second year now we've done the training, and it is very good actually. And I don't think we did it before, or at least I didn't for Calderdale. So that's, yeah, it's brilliant.
So apologies if anybody's been chased down, but that is kind of one of my roles. So apologies there.
I was the one who's given us all homework, everyone. So everyone thank Carl. And by the way, if no one has done the training, now's a good time, Carl, to acknowledge it. No,
let's keep on mentioning the training, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions, members, about ICT, technical, anything like that? Yeah, Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, thank you very much again. It's mentioned briefly in the in the priorities, but I was just wondering kind of if you could give a bit more information about what's been done in terms of it's briefly mentioned around, the online solutions for reporting and that type of thing, because I think it's something that as councillors you're kind of consciously aware of a lot of the time, that, residents are using different tools to report and just how to make that easier. And I think that's quite important also given the context of digital inclusion as well, that some people can't use those tools. So I was just wondering about kind of because I know we've got the flag tipping reporting system, and I think there's one for drains as well, but any more information would be quite good, quite useful.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Thompson. We're doing quite a lot of work in that digital inclusion space to make sure that not only are we open for business as far as ICT is concerned, but we also can signpost people through those processes. The Horton Street Centre has a range of facilities to help people if they are really struggling with their digital inclusion. And we have a support officer within ICT and digital who is absolutely dedicated to improving inclusion across the piece. So that said, I think it is really important for us to identify the key areas that are pertinent. I did a session with Cabinet and the corporate leadership team around the sorts of priorities that councillors want to see from our systems to make sure that we are responsive. And I'm sure that that will develop over the next 12 to 18 months as we start to reuse some of the data that we have. We have extensive data sets, but we also need your feedback into that to make sure that we've got the systems that are appropriate and easy to use for the citizens of Calderdale.
I think that's a really good a good question and an equally good response there. My question's related to, I'll do the first one. We as councillors, and it's probably looking at this item quite selfishly, but we as councillors, we operate our casework on an Outlook system primarily. You know, we use Outlook to send emails to customer first, and then customer first deal with the request. You know, they get in touch with the department, etc. And then they'll feed back over email. There's a lot of traffic there, a lot of email traffic going on, you know, and there's a lot of potential just for quite simple human error, you know, people missing emails, things not getting picked up, etc. And then within that, there's not really a process or a mechanism whereby we can check progress on a matter, you know, whether it's being responded to, whether it's not being responded to. Is there a way at all, Carl, where, and again, it's a bit of a selfish point, just looking at us as councillors and our roles, is there a way where we can have maybe a case management system or something whereby instead of using email, we've got the same system that officers use, that customer first use. All we do is, you know, it's how it works in my head. We send a message on that system. It goes direct to the team responsible, and then they, you know, input the update, and it just goes straight back to our portal, if you know what I mean, when it comes to a case. But yeah.
Yep. So two things to that. The first one is the direct answer to that question, which is we're investigating how we could set that up so that there is an additional benefit to councillors being able to see more than perhaps the citizen who's actually raised that issue. Part of that will also be making sure that councillors are aware of actually all the good work that happens in the background. So I recognise that councillors deal with quite a lot of problems. I've worked in the industry long enough to understand that people focus in on some of those issues, but we also need to present the more rounded view of just how good we are in some of these areas. The second part, which is runs alongside that, I'm going to pick up on your email side of things. So as you'll be aware, we have Microsoft 365, which is a range of collaborative tools, not just email. So we have Teams and we use that for quite a lot of our meetings. We need to start moving the organization into a more Teams collaborative approach, and that would help that process. So it may well be that we have a stopgap measure, or it may well be that we actually generate something through Teams that will allow us to produce that customer relationship kind of management approach off the back end of our systems, because I'm very keen that we should be using the technologies that we have in front of us, not increasing any costs, but certainly driving out the email traffic that we have as an organization, because as you'll probably be aware, it's quite a monumental task just keeping on top of your email, and anything that we can do in that space would help it. So the solution, bringing those two things together, may well be a low-code solution, which is where a quick way of linking into different systems can be presented within teams may well be the approach that we take, but we're just working on that to actually scope what that needs to actually deliver and be for all councillors.
I do you know what, Carl, that is brilliant. Like that would be brilliant if there was a way. I've coined it here today, the 21st century councillor. That would be, well, because when you think, the councillor as a role, we're still operating the way we did 20 years ago, but you name another job, and it's not really a job. It seems like a hobby at most times, but a laborious hobby. But, when you look at the job, it hasn't changed, and most jobs do change, and that's part of an evolution of how things get better. So if we could, in some ways, find a way that we can modernize the roles, therefore we can get a case management system, whatever it is, through Teams. I'd only be a really good, I'd only think that's a really good progression.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Good. Next on the agenda.
Sorry, Chair, you've got some hands.
But next, I didn't mean on the agenda. I meant next. Up next is Councillor Kingston.
Thank you very much. Carl, I'm coming back to the cyber training because I'm one of the guilty people that struggles to get it done. And the main reason that I struggle to get it done is because I find it so difficult to find where to do it and to get into the system to do it. And I would love it if you would offer some drop-in sessions where councillors could, a time and a place where we could turn up and get assistance with just getting into the training, rather than having to have 3,000 email exchanges about usernames and logins. And
Councillor Kingston, done. No problems whatsoever. We will put on some sessions so that we can do that, and we'll almost double head it. It will be an opportunity for councillors to complete that training, and it will also be an opportunity for us to perhaps actually have that engagement and show some future tools, to the chair's point around changing the way that, showing some opportunities that we may want to use going forward. So that's that. If you are on the naughty chair or naughty step, then you will actually be receiving an email from myself, which is has a very outlined way of going to complete that training.
I've received one of those before, but there was one stage at which I was like expecting to see the training and be able to start it, and it just seemed to have taken me back to somewhere where I'd already been.
Okay, so if you've got any problems, and I know it came out via email, so apologies for that, but just respond to the email and I'll pick that up personally.
Thank you.
Perfect, very good. Councillor Dacre.
Thank you. I just wanted to make the comment that I rather do feel that things have changed in the last 20 years. The fact that we're on this meeting by Zoom, for one thing, the fact that we all communicate by email, that our papers are on ModGov, much to the annoyance and distress of some members who think that they should all still be on paper. I think actually the councillor role has probably changed out of all recognition from 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, being a bit facetious, but 3 things in 20 years isn't progress. But that's just being facetious.
They're pretty all-encompassing, though, and they are only examples.
Yeah, no, I'm jesting. With regards to one thing from me, I recall we had a commercialisation exercise, and one of the officers presented to us, and they said a massive saving, or what has produced a saving for the council, is consolidating the payments contracts that we have as a council. So therefore, I think now we've only got one payment system, and that's produced quite a substantial saving by one simple exercise. And I was just wondering, is there anything in the ICT sphere? Is there anything similar going on? Because our tech has organically grown, so therefore naturally, as many organisations have, they've got different contracts for different systems when actually only one system can be used. Are you looking at that as a thing, or yeah?
Yep, no problems whatsoever, Chair. So part of the rebasing of the budget work that was alluded to earlier by Isabel is making us actually generate comprehensive lists of where we're actually spending money, or what those contracts look like. And so the next phase, which will automatically follow on from there, is to actually bring those contracts together, consolidate even different types of software. So we may at this point in time have 3 different softwares that do the same activity. We need to consolidate those further. So I can see Isabel's got her hand up as well, so she might want to step in here. But fundamentally, that will be one of the good outcomes of us rebaselining the budgets.
Yeah, interesting. Isabel?
I think Carl just said it all. I was just making sure he said it all. We're working together to make sure there's not duplication, to make sure that we can, we consolidate contracts and work in a more joined up way. Thank you.
This is good. This is good, and I think this is bringing this item to a close. This is what scrutiny is about, and I know Ian touched on it earlier, but scrutiny is about not only being, as Councillor Blagborough says, a critical friend, but it's also about highlighting what we're doing incredibly well. And I think, when you look at this report and when you look at the not only what we've done, but also where we can go and how members are proactively contributing to ideas, I think this is a really, really positive thing for scrutiny. So I just wanted to make that point. But Carl, I agree. We haven't really looked at this area in quite a while. And we probably should actually build this into the work programme a little bit more. So perhaps we can have a chat offline and let's see, areas which we can explore and contribute to.
No problem. Thank you very much, Chair.
Perfect. Thank you for coming. Really great stuff. Good. On to the next item. In that case, we're flying through. Whistleblowing. Review into Calderdale Council's whistleblowing and complaints policies. Ben, can I hand this over to you, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, as members will be aware, this review is coming out of a recommendation from the Buying Our Care work that Scrutiny did in a working group led by Councillor Evans, the current mayor. So at this stage, what we need to happen is the terms of reference to be formally approved. And if any members would like to be on the working group, that would be helpful to know. And I understand Councillor Barnes has contacted you and volunteered to chair it. And I understand as well that Councillor Kearney, the deputy chair of the board, who's not here today, is also interested on being on this working group.
Yeah. Good. So what we after today, Ben? Are we just after expressions of interest now, or do you need them after the meeting?
I'm after expressions of interest. I'm happy to have them now. I'm happy to have them after the meeting. What I do need to happen is the terms of reference to be approved, and it would also be beneficial if members could approve Councillor Barnes as chair of the working group, if they're happy so to do.
Okay, very good. In that case, expressions of interest. I've got a real problem with, unfortunately, attending daytime meetings. It's just absolutely impossible. So I really struggle with that. But if any member would like to join the review group, you can either express now or express after the meeting by emailing Ben. So just to mention that one. Okay, dealing in turn the terms of reference. Has any member got a comment at all on the terms of reference included in the agenda pack? No, I think it's a really good item, by the way. I think it's a really good review group. Councillor Thompson, struggling with daytime meetings as well. No, I agree. I feel your pain, Councillor Thompson. It's difficult. Puts you under a lot of pressure with your job. So no, I appreciate that. I think I did mention to Ben about ways, for either this review group or other review groups, for members to still be on the review group but contribute in a offline capacity or in a capacity outside of the daytime, or I think that the door's always open for people who want to be involved in stuff, but it don't mean that they can't be on the review group, I think.
We can certainly accommodate that. That's a model that we're using in a different review group that we have running through the different scrutiny boards. So if any members would like to be involved in this, if they would let me know. As I said, Chair, I need the terms of reference approving and Councillor Barnes endorsing as Chair.
But in that case, can I propose the terms of reference are approved, and can I also propose that Councillor Barnes be chair of the group? Can I have a second? Is that a seconder hand, Councillor Kingston, or is that a question?
It's a question, but I'll also happily second your proposal.
Yeah, do you want to ask the question now, Councillor Kingston?
Well, it wasn't a question. I'm just reading that we can recommend members from other scrutiny boards if we wish. And I know that Councillor Hutchinson was involved in the work on the buying our care review that they did in the AHSC scrutiny. I've not asked him, but I think he might be interested in being part of this review group. So
yeah, that's appreciated. Thank you, Ben.
Though I've not spoken to him about that beforehand.
I'm aware that Councillor Hutchinson might wish to be involved in this group, and I think it would make sense to have some people who've been involved from buying our care involved in the group, and I'm more than happy to approach people who were on that working party to assist on that. And I believe Councillor Carr's expressed an interest of being on this working group, and I've noted that, and I'll be in touch after the meeting to confirm that.
Brilliant. Good thumbs up from Councillor Carr. That's good. Okay, so yeah, I've proposed it. Councillor Kingston has seconded it. All those in favour, please. Yeah. So I can't see. Councillor Thompson's got his camera off, but I mean, it wouldn't change things anyway. So that's passed in that case. Good. Onto the work programme, Ben.
Yes, you've all members will have been circulated the work programme in the agenda pack. I'll be relatively brief. Obviously, if members have a particular item that they wish to incorporate in the work programme, if they could drop me an email, and I will accommodate it and fit it in as best I'm able to. One thing that's come up in tonight's meeting is there's been a lot of talk about recruitment and retention, which, Chair, you'll be aware is an item that you've expressed interest in bringing back to the scrutiny yourself before. I'm wondering whether you'd like me to set that up as a single item and maybe invite some external providers to share their experiences as to how they recruit and retain staff, so that members might develop a wider understanding of strategies that could be used and so on and so forth.
I think it's a good idea. Getting some maybe neighbouring local authorities and also private sector companies, third sector organisations could be a good way forward. And I think probably following on from the last item about ICT, I think that's a really big area which, on reflection, I don't think we've discussed much on strategy, and that could be a really good one to look at as well.
I've noted ICT down. I think possibly again that might be a good case for having a single item agenda on that, and bringing Carl back and getting him to answer any questions you have, but also explaining how the ICT strategy underpins many of the services that the council delivers and ways it can be used to improve council services.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other comments from members at all? No. Well, if there is any work programme item, please do let us know, and just ping us an email, and then we can discuss it. But in that case, Isabel, we're still going to see you again, aren't we, Isabel? We're still going to see you, aren't we? So
yeah, I'm here till September. So the new director will start on the 4th, and I will probably leave at the end of that week. So yeah,
Right,
you've still got a few months with me.
That's brilliant. Good. Just making sure it's not your last one. So fantastic. Well, if there's no other I want to thank officers first and foremost for attending. I appreciate your time out of your evenings. But thank you for coming. Thank you to Councillor Dacre for attending as well, as always. And thank you to members and Ben and Mark for coming.